But let's shift the focus now to some stock-specific action. Let's talk about Century Ply, because this stock has been on a steady uptrend. It's seeing gains of almost 100% if you look at the last year. To get an idea of how the on-ground business is performing at this point, and really understand the impact of GST reductions we've seen and the outlook for the business going ahead, we're joined by Keshav Bhajanka, Director at Century Ply. Thanks so much for joining in, sir. First off, just really want to understand the kind of reductions that we've seen in GST. It affects part of your business. Just help us understand really what material uptick you're expecting in terms of performance on the back of these reductions.
You see, earlier, the cumulative tax burden on the plywood industry was close to 28 to 30%. This is prior to GST. So when the GST rate was set at 28%, there was no material gain that was being passed on to the organized players, because the unorganized players were still transacting on the same basis as before, as the e-way bill had been given. Now there is a reduction in net tax rate for the organized players, including ourselves, by 10%. And I think this is going to benefit us substantially. Going forward, I believe this is going to help us gain market share. We have already seen, a sign of gain beginning. We have seen increase in our volumes over the course of the second half of last month. And I'm sure in the next quarter, we'll see a further increase in our market share.
In terms of pricing, how is that working out to be? Because as far as your overall portfolio is concerned, I think the most weightage comes from plywood, which is 47%, followed by laminates as well as veneers. So if you can give us an outlook on the second half in terms of pricing, especially from the plywood standpoint, and how the cost pressures have also worked out to be. So we'll get a rough sense of how the margin outlook seems to be like.
In the first quarter, there was a pressure on margins due to an increase in raw material prices. Normally, we pass on raw material price increases to the market instantly, but as it was a transitional quarter where GST was about to come into play, we decided to postpone that price increase. We might be looking at a slight price increase during the next quarter. There is not too much pressure on raw material prices right now, but the increase that had taken place earlier is yet to be passed on to the market. Having said that, when the GST rate was reduced, we passed on that 10% benefit instantly to the market. So on the 15th of November, we reduced our prices by 10% straight.
All right, so also, just wanted an update on a couple of acquisitions and tie-ups that you've made recently in the last few months. If we talk about the 60-40 JV with the Chinese company for door frames, you're looking at, acquiring more land near your existing MDF plant over there. Just any update that you can share with us? What kind of revenue generation are you expecting from door frames business?
You see, this is a new business that we're getting into. We're already into doors, but this is a complete door set that we'll be manufacturing. The reason behind this is, as per the Prime Minister's initiative, he is looking to come up with 5 crore houses over the course of the next 5 years, which means that there's going to be demand for 25 crore doors, which in itself, considering 2,000 rupees a door, is a 50,000 crore market. So we are looking to make a foray into that space. And I believe that the company that we are tied up with has an expertise in manufacturing low-cost doors, which is going to be the requirement in the LIG and the MIG segment going forward. So we are very bullish on it. We are going to start off with a small enterprise. I believe the turnover is going to be anywhere between 150 to 160 crores for the first plant. And going forward, we'll ramp up capacity as and when we exhaust the current capacity.
Right. Keshav, you can also give us an update and correct me if I'm wrong here. Was your laminate capacity to be commissioned by December 2017? If we can get an update on that, what's the ideal level that you're looking at, and even in terms of capacity utilization? Secondly, I think under your Scenic brand for plywood, you were looking at that category specifically leading upside in terms of sales growth. I think 34% growth was what you were speaking about last time. So can you take us through both these factors?
Yeah, in laminates, the additional capacity should come into play last week of this month, or latest by the first week of next month. We are well on time, and I believe that we should be able to exhaust the current capacity, the additional capacity, within a space of 15 to 18 months. When it comes to Scenic, till now we have not seen the upside because, as I told you, the GST rate was set at 28%. But now that the reduction has taken place, we should see a drastic increase in Scenic volumes going forward.
All right, just a quick question on, on the back of these GST revisions that we've seen. If you look at the market share between organized and unorganized player for the building material sector, it's about 50 to 70%. In the next year itself, in FY19, where do you see this number coming down? Any expectation you have? And also, if we look at, the tile, sanitary ware, plywood segment, it's about 25, 30, 40% respectively. Any estimates that you have going ahead?
See, in plywood, the market share would be 70% unorganized and 30% organized. As per me, within the next 2 years, this should shift to 50% organized and 50% unorganized. And we are looking to increase our market share, which is about 25% of the organized segment further. So we should be looking at least a 30% market share of the expanded 50% total market.
Right. Keshav, a couple of things that the street would be interested in listening to. One is that your raw material sourcing strategy from here on and capital allocation plans. I suppose there are no major ramp-up plans going forward from here, so we can expect internal accruals and cash flows to be healthy, I mean now onwards. One thing is that. And secondly, can you tell us in detail about the ban on timber export by Myanmar? I mean, is that likely to pose a challenge for unorganized players and thereby...
Export. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue, Keshav.
Myanmar had banned the export of logs in the year 2014 itself. So from the 1st of April 2014, there were no export of timber allowed out of Myanmar. You had to process the product and then you could bring in veneer from Myanmar. Last year, Myanmar actually put a ban on felling fresh timber because they had accumulated a lot of timber in the previous years and they wanted to exhaust that timber prior to fresh felling of trees. So this ban has now been lifted. Myanmar should commence operations as normal from the end of this year itself. I'm talking about from the beginning of 2018 itself. As far as raw material sourcing is concerned, I think we're in a very good position because we have units in Laos and in Myanmar. And alongside that, we have also identified an alternate source for face veneer, which is the component that needs to be imported because it is from natural forestry. So we have identified a species that originates out of the Solomon Islands, and that has put us in a healthy position or in a very good position as far as raw material security is concerned.
Fair point, Keshav. We're going to leave it at that, but thank you so much for joining in and giving us a quick take on how on-ground business activity is panning out to be and your pricing as well as demand outlook going ahead for the future as well, post-GST. But that's all the time that we have on this edition of Trending Today.
Well, lots more news and updates continue on the other side. Thanks for watching.